I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. Would I entertain a motion to open the meeting?
Second.
All those in favor? We all please stand for the pledge. The pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two public hearings tonight. And after the public hearings, we will offer the privilege of the floor for anyone that wishes to speak. But the first public hearing that we are having is Ellie Hitzroth at 24 Tower Point Road, tax map number 76.12-1-14. Guess I'm just gonna read the legal note.
Open up the public, make a motion.
Okay. Could I entertain a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Okay. I'm gonna read the legal notice. Please take notice that the town board, being the local board of health of the town of Hague, will hold a public hearing on the 11th day of January at 6:15 PM at the Hague Community Center, 9793 Graphite Mountain Road, Hague, New York, regarding 6 wastewater variances for the installation of NSF Certified Enhancement Treatment Unit, Fuji CEN-5 tank, a pump tank, and a new absorption field for Ellie Hitzroth, whose property is located at 24 Tower Point Road, tax 76.12-1-14. Variance number 18-23, distance from septic tank to dwelling, Town of Hague, chapter 132-1 and New York State Department of Health, 74A, table 2, required 10, proposed 3. Variance 19-23, distance from effluent line to line to dwelling, Town of Hague, chapter 132-1A and New York State Department of Health, 75A, table 2, required 10, proposed 4.25. Variance number 20-23, distance from effluent line to distribution line to property line, Town of Hague, chapter 132-1A and New York State Department of Health, 75A, table 2, required 10, proposed 4.25. Variance 21-23, distance from absorption field, bottomless sand filter to dwelling, Town of Hague, chapter 132-1A and New York State Department of Health, 75A, table 2, required 20, proposed 3.3. Variance 22-23, distance from absorption field, bottomless sand filter to property line, Town of Hague, chapter 132-1A and New York State Department of Health, 75A4, table 2, required 20 feet, proposed 1 foot. Variance 23-23, distance from absorption field, bottomless sand filter to Lake George, Town of Hague, chapter 132-1A and New York State Department of Health, 75A4, table 2, required 100 feet, proposed 50 feet. The records regarding the above project are available for the public inspection during normal business hours at the town clerk's office, Hague Community Center, 9793 Graphite Mountain Road, Hague, New York. At such hearing, All persons will be given the opportunity to be heard. Written or oral statements will be taken at that time. Time limitations may be imposed for each oral statement if necessary. Would anyone like to speak in regards to this public hearing?
I'll say I'm Eric Sandblom from SRA Engineers, with the engineer agent for the applicant, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. So we will be on, I'm assuming we have nobody that would like to speak on this particular application then. We will be leaving the this public hearing open tonight on guidance from our town attorney, mainly due to the fact that this public hearing was originally scheduled for Tuesday evening. And now it's tonight. So just in case somebody, we weren't able to reach every party involved, we will carry this through to our February meeting and leave this open. I have spoken with our CEO, Kathy Clark, and she will be reissuing the newspaper notice as well as any letters to any landowners in the surrounding area that it pertains to. Moving on. What's that? Go ahead.
So, Mr. Sand.
Revisiting it. Do you want to give a presentation? Is that?
I'm more than happy to, if you'd like me to.
Yeah, that'd be great, please. Oh, I forgot that point.
Yeah, unfortunately, Chestertown, Bolton, and Lake George are all included in the town of Hay, having their meetings on the second Tuesday of the month.
Mr. Sandblom, don't we normally, before we even open the public hearing, just kind of give you an opportunity to speak and go tell everyone how this all works, and then we open the public hearing? Isn't that the normal process?
I see it done both ways, depending on municipality.
Okay,
It's your pleasure.
okay, thank you. Proceed, please.
What we have here is an existing single-family residence that has a wastewater disposal system that consists of a gray water system that discharges to a dry well that is actually located on the neighbor's property. Fortunately, they're family, so it's okay, but it's okay with each other, but it's not a tenable situation to be discharging part of your wastewater on another person's land. They have their black water discharging to a cesspool directly to a pit, essentially in the ground next to the house. And the owners here realize that this is not really an appropriate treatment system, and they want to do what's right and replace it with something that meets standards, or at least comes as close as possible to meeting. It's a pretty small site. It's a triangular shape right here. It's on the top of a bit of a plateau. It's 25 to 30 feet above Lake George. There's quite a slope right there. And other than that, there's not so much space available. They've got very, very limited places to even put a vehicle. And what we've come up with here is an advanced treatment system that consists of first call it a pre-treatment system, an enhanced treatment unit. It's a flow-through device. It's called a FujiClean. And this particular model is provides additional nitrogen treatment than their standard model. It is rated to deliver a wastewater that meets secondary treatment standards by the DEC requirements, and that also, meets the definition of an enhanced treatment unit in state code. So it's meeting the NSF 40 treatment requirements. So you're already getting a pretty high level of treatment through that flow-through device, and then we're having it delivered to what's known as a bottomless sand filter. And so that really would finish it off. That would be the finished treatment. to percolate through that sand filter and then start percolating into native soil. And the reason for using the bottomless sand filter, we usually use them when there's really high groundwater or really restricted soil conditions. But here we're really doing it because we have such limited space. This is a type of technology that allows for a really small footprint. And so that's what made sense to go with this for this one here. And that's it in a nutshell. I did give a quick presentation last month, excuse me, on this. And I'll follow up by saying that the town has had this sent to third-party engineering review, Cedarwood Engineering. They've had comments on it. I responded back to those comments. We responded back to those comments, and I've had a conversation with the engineer at Cedarwood. And we're basically accepting all the conditions and fine with the suggestions that they've made to tweak the design. I can get into that detail if you want, but basically, we're in agreement with the town hired engineer. We just need to follow up with a couple tweaks to the design plan, and we should be there.
Would you mind answering a couple questions for the audience, sir?
That 30 feet of, what kind of soils there?
So what we found at the top of the bank there is a silty sand soil, much part of the products. Much parts of the product actually. The owners had hired another engineer, who I think is in the audience today. I'm not sure, Tom, when you had looked on these properties, but that was a much more of a clay soil that had a much slower percolation. We're over on the south side, and the soils that we found there were pretty favorable for percolation, so to speak. We went down to 4 feet, found those similar soils to
I'm still unclear though, is the final purification, where's that located? Above the mountain?
Really, the full treatment will occur before the wastewater even reaches the existing ground surface. So this filter will be built up onto the ground with an open bottom. The water will be treated through that sand filter, and by the time it gets to what is native material, it really will reach full treatment.
And then from that location, where does it go? Into the soil?
The ground, yes, the water just percolates down into the soil.
Straight down,
Yes.
and not lateral.
There's really nothing to force it to go lateral.
And now, do you know if there's any systems that are not allowed on the tree? I mean, sources, purification. That's cool.
Well, I think the Lake George Park Commission is finding plenty through their inspection program.
They're finding plenty?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's none that they gave.
This is not a system that is.
But I think any of all the available, there's
Gray water, I think, set open.
Okay.
That's the only water, that's the only one of all the rocket science.
So he's only speaking in the capacity of his engineered system here tonight. I think that's correct, right?
Right.
Okay. Donna, would you like to ask a question?
It's on Tower Point Road, in Silver Bay, the YMCA is just out, the point that jumps out into the lake there. It's really
With a stone tower.
north, actually, the other side, north.
Did you get the Cedarwood recommendations? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't hear the name of the system, so you just.
Fuji Clean USA is the name of the company.
How many variances were involved?
There are 6 variances. They're all horizontal separation variances.
Are there any other questions? Normally, the town board would, we are not closing the public hearing, but we would ask questions after we were to close it. So, but in this particular situation, does the town board have any questions at this point in time? Because we are leaving it open tonight.
Yeah, I got a question. Yeah, it says down here that, you're gonna be having, make sure that the property is sold, that the new buyer is well aware of the whole system. Am I correct? It says new buyer must be aware of the operation and maintenance requirements of the system. So, that's a good condition, so it doesn't just fall flat on its face. I think that's good. And you're getting a maintenance contract for the life of the system with who?
With the distributor of the,
Okay.
or the, it's not directly the manufacturer, it's a distributor authorized by the manufacturer.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, anyone else from the board?
No.
All right, we'll let you know how it works out next month.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry I won't be able to be here.
It's no problem. I appreciate you being here tonight.
Well, thank you.
Okay. The next public hearing that we have is Oxford Cottages. Lee Cunningham at 4 Silver Bay Road, tax map number 76.20-1-3.2. We are revisiting this approval due to procedural errors. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and read the public hearing notice aloud. The Hague Town Board, serving as the local Board of Health, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, January 9th, 2024, beginning at 6:15 at the Community Center, 9793 Graphite Mountain Road, Hague, New York, to consider the following septic variance request. Oxford Cottages Incorporated, Lee Cunningham, tax map number 76.20-1-3.2. 4 Silver Bay Road, TR1R. The applicant is seeking variances for replacement to upgrade existing septic system. Variances are requested for the following. Number 1, SEPVAR SEPVAR 07-22, horizontal separation from property line to limits of absorption bed. Part 11, Chapter 132A. Horizontal separation distances from wastewater sources. SEPVAR 08-22, horizontal separation from mean high water Lake George to pump station. Part 11, Chapter 132A. Horizontal separation distances from wastewater source. SEPVAR separation variance 09-22, horizontal separation from building wall to septic tank, part 11, chapter 132, appendix A, horizontal separation distances from wastewater source. Separation variance 10-22, horizontal separation from building wall to septic tank, part 11, chapter 132, appendix A, horizontal separation distance from wastewater source. 5, separation variance 11-22, no leaching facility will be permitted within 200 foot of the mean high water mark of the lake, pond, river, or permanent or intermittent stream if the percolation rate is 0 to 3 minutes per inch. A system may be allowed within 200 feet of the shoreline if corrective measures are taken to reduce the percolation rate to a minimum of 7 to 10 minutes per inch. Chapter 132-9C. The records regarding to the above projects are available for review at the Hague Community Center, 9793 Graphite Mountain Road, Hague, New York. Persons wishing to appear at such hearing may do so in person by attorney or representative by the order of the town board. We will, just as a point of order, this particular public hearing we will be leaving open also. Could I entertain a motion to open the public hearing? May I get a second?
Second.
is the engineer for Oxford Cottages here? Thank you. Would you go?
Tom Jarrett, RU Homes Engineers. And this project was originally approved by this board a year and a half ago. But due to technicality, it's back before you. We're seeking essentially 4 variances. One is to reuse the pump station that's existing in back of the cottage in the lake. We want to reuse that. It's too close to the lake right now. Part of this variance agreement, we will stipulate that if this ever has to be replaced, we will move it back as far as possible, trying to make it compliant with 50 feet. We have 2 variances regarding setbacks to septic tanks from the structures. One is the existing septic tank to the existing cottage. And the new house that's being constructed right now is also too close. And that house is situated in relation to the cottage because of APA and zoning requirements. So those variances right there relate to septic tank setback from the structures. The third variance, which is probably the most important, is that we are very close to the property line in the northwest corner of the property. About 2 to 3 feet total fill to the property from the property to the north, and likewise to that same property owner to the west. We are proposing an enhanced treatment unit, similar to what Eric introduced, but ours is a different model. Ours is an Elgin system, which is a passive system, does not require active maintenance and operation by the owner. But it provides the same level of treatment, secondary standard. I want to amend something he said, and that is treatment doesn't end once it enters the existing ground. We get secondary treatment at the ground surface, but below the ground surface, percolating through the existing soil, it's called tertiary treatment. We get additional treatment, and that for a lot of the phosphorus is removed. Which all the phosphorus is removed right there in the soil beneath the system. So that's a very important component of these waste treatment systems. So essentially, we're back asking for the variances that were granted by this board a year and a half ago.
Is there a reason you can't meet the setback from the lake now, other than have to move the tank?
This,
Yes.
we were proposing not to change that pump right now. We don't have to change it from a performance standard, but it's an existing tank and we haven't proposed to replace it right now. But we've stipulated we would move it back if it does need to be replaced or when it needs to be replaced. And just one aside, this was reviewed by the town engineer back a year and a half ago before it came from the board. And they accepted it and recommended approval to
Have you been to the site?
lately. I've been to the site many times, but not the last month.
So where this proposed septic system is, it's on the blue button. Okay. So-
Yes, I've been to the site.
I was there and I noticed, so where the septic system is going, which is on the northern side of the property line closest to the main road.
Yeah, I should have introduced that. Nine is out here. This is the start of Silver Bay Road. This is the very end of south end of Silver Bay Road. I should have introduced that. Sorry.
Sure. So I'm noticing that to where the proposed system is going to go, there is a lot of trees directly to the southern side of where the proposed system is going.
There's a number of trees right in here. These are 2 existing driveways
Right.
and there's trees in between. Right.
So my question is this, while I recognize that trees are great for the environment, heck, they might even help with the absorption shield, but could it potentially help alleviate some of any neighbor's concerns to move it south, creating a greater separation distance by taking down those trees, meaning?
Right. Well, theoretically, we could take down those trees, and although I don't like to do that, that slope actually is not conducive to this type of system, and it exceeds the health department standards for a system like this. A raised system or a mound system, so that's why we chose the old driveway, we're closing off the old driveway. Replacing the soil underneath and putting it there, as opposed to trying to put it on that slope where those trees are.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I'm just saying, if I'm the neighbor to the direct, north.
Well, interestingly, right now, Oxford Cottages uses an easement on the neighbor's property for wastewater management.
Right,
And that's being abandoned, that easement is no longer gonna be available to Oxford Cottages, and we're moving the wastewater system onto the Oxford Cottages property. So actually, the impact on his property, their property, is less than, it will be less than it was.
okay. Well, did any of the board have any additional questions?
Tom answered the ones that you brought up and
Okay.
good points, so, but when we saw it, but it's been a long time, about a year ago, somebody were,
Oh, yeah.
it's been a while, yeah.
So considering the fact that this is a public hearing, would anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? The lady in the red, please. Please.
Good evening, my name is Stephanie Bitter, I'm attorney with Bartlett County Stewart Roads. I have been retained by the immediately adjacent neighbors, Ciscas, as well as Ms. Sullivan. I have a submission to make for you to articulate what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it in sum and substance. I do appreciate that what you said from the beginning, that you're not going to close the public hearing, that you're going to take time to review this application because of the procedural error. I think is a fantastic idea, and that was one of my first requests. I ask you to take this application slow because there's a lot going on here. And as you already know, there was a procedural defect that the neighbors were not notified that this was all happening until this point. So I think it requires some pause and some attention. And that's what I'm asking for you. The first thing is that I realize you're looking at this as a septic variance, but this septic variance is to support this project as a whole. And this project as a whole, in sum and substance, is to put 3 structures on a 0.41 acre parcel in a zone that has a minimum lot size of 1 acre. That being said, I just want you to take that in consideration as you evaluate the factors, because they are seeking from you a variance. That being said, we have concerns that within the zoning compliance of this project was considered. It was looked at too leniently and threw it back. And we're asking you to consider that an error was made when that zoning compliance was evaluated. Because again, we're putting 3 structures on a parcel that's 0.41 acres on Lake George. That being said, what I understand to have occurred was that this project was looked at as a pre-existing non-conforming parcel that had 2 single-family dwellings, which I understand is true and that's factual. But what is the concern of the error that was made was when they looked at 160-65, which is your pre-existing non-conforming section of the code, they said 2 single-family dwellings get 2 single-family dwellings. That is not the case here. They had 2 cottages, which were 307 square feet in size and 600 and some square feet in size. That does not equal 3 structures, which now exceed over 4,000 square feet in size. That is not equal. That is not uniform. And to that we say that this was reviewed in error because that in and of itself is an expansion. And we ask the town to reconsider that. We ask the town to consider how every other pre-existing non-conforming structure or non-conforming lot has to go for a variance to do an expansion or a modification. That is uniformity in the town of Lake, and that's one of the requests we're making, is that we consider that maybe an error was made, and maybe with that, it should go back to the planning and zoning review. In addition to the errors as to how this was evaluated, there's also a claim that converting this 1 cottage, taking out the kitchen, makes it then an accessory structure. But your code specifically states that an accessory structure cannot have living quarters and cannot have associated plumbing. If you have a bathroom that's associated, and that should be looked at as then a dwelling unit. So that doesn't get them out of that concept that there's now still 3 dwelling units on this property. They also didn't consider the multiple family dwelling or the multiple dwelling section of each unit, and that says that each dwelling has to have 1 acre in size. And clearly, this 0.41 acre lot does not. So please consider whether an error was made in zoning compliance, and if not, send it to your zoning board for interpretation. I think that this town deserves at least that. One more concern were that we believe misrepresentations may have been made throughout this. Tom Jarrett specifically stated, and you even identified, that this is Oxford Cottages. That's what this property is known as. These cottages are rented, and rented very well. They have great testimonials on their website. It's a vacation destination. That is what we understand to be the case. However, during the planning board minutes, they speak of 1 cabin. They don't speak of 2. They don't talk about how this is rented. In fact, when they have the discussion of why they're converting that 1 cottage, it's for the purposes of being an office for their son or daughter when they come to visit. However, the website's up and functioning. We understand it's going to continue to be rented. Specific statements have been made by the applicant that it will be rented in the upcoming season. So that is important information in evaluating this project. The septic variances. You are looking at the septic variances. That's your job, and you have to evaluate the factors. We believe that it doesn't meet the factors because there is no unnecessary hardship. The property is fully utilized. There's no deprivation of property. Oxford Cottage seems to be doing fantastic. There's no special circumstances that exist here. They're seeking to essentially overburden their property with 3 structures and essentially almost a 0-foot setback to my client's property, which then makes concerns of drainage and the impacts it would have on his property, not to mention the visibility of a mountain system. It will materially detriment the adjacent properties, as well as the community. 3 structures on less than a half of the acre in the town of Hayes on lakefront property. That's a concern, it should be. That in of itself is huge and overburdening and a problem. And not necessary. The one thing I want to make sure that everybody's paying attention to is the number of bedrooms. I value Tom Jarrett's expertise, but I want to make sure that everybody's looking at this for what it is. That new house is essentially a 4-bedroom house. Those 2 cabins, one can sleep 9 and the other can sleep 5. You can check the website because it specifically identifies what possibly could happen.
Yeah.
And we have to be concerned with the possibility. Because if that system fails, it will be devastating to not only my clients, but to this community in the lake. So please, think about these concerns. Think about what I'm asking of you and take it slow and evaluate this application fully.
Thank you very much.
Ginger Priscilla has a question online for you as well.
Okay.
Hi, okay, so every time there's an application for variances before the town board for enhanced treatment units. And every time we hear there are requirements with these units that they are maintained and inspected annually. And every time we also hear that the town board should get a report, or the town should get a report, get a copy of this report. But I've repeatedly asked, what is the process to be sure that the town does get this? And every time the board says, yep, it's a great idea, we should do that. And okay, should and doing it are 2 different things. So I'm not asking you to solve this problem tonight, but I do think you need to put a process in place for every one of these of which we're getting more and more of these enhanced treatment units that require multiple variances all the time, to make sure that they are operating correctly and that the town is informed every year that they're operating correctly.
Well put, Ginger. Would anyone else like to speak for or against this application? Gentlemen.
Hey, board members, my name is Greg Klingler. My siblings are here, the four of us, we own the property just south of what this is going in. We are a little bit opposed to the application for the septic based on what we said before. The additional rentals that are be coming in, the additional traffic, the burden on the system. We're also concerned with the fact that when the house was built, they cut into the side of the hill. And now we had a nice gradual slope. We have now an 8-foot drop of sand about maybe 6 feet from our house, from the foundation of our house. So we have an 8-foot drop right here, no retaining wall. The house is here. How long is it going to take for water to run off, wash away that, expose that foundation, and possibly affect our structure, maybe crack the foundation, maybe tilt? So we're asking, in addition to the septic variance that we talk about, at some point, I'd like the board members to go there and look at it, see exactly where it is. I'd like to have a retaining wall put up there that will prevent any washout, any erosion of land. But we'd like to have a geo specialist to go with you guys. We'd like to know that when you're going to go, so one of our family members could be there with you, point out, see what's being discussed. Because this is definitely a concern of us. It's just a matter, it could be a matter of a year or two that soil washes away and exposes our basement, exposes all kinds of problems. And that's in addition to the septic. So I want to go on record talking about the embankment, the drop off and retaining wall.
But that really, as far as the board goes, to planning and zoning issue, that's something that the town board can make a decision on.
Okay, so who do I go to as far as that?
Kathy Clark.
The owners have hired an engineer, has informed me about, heard through the grapevines, your concerns, and has hired Jason Prosecutor and engineer to construct such retaining wall.
Have you been to the site?
That is.
You've seen it, you've seen it. You've seen what?
Not
You've seen it recently.
in the last 2 weeks. I have not,
So we have 2 weeks ago?
the middle of December, I think.
As we said.
So the owner has told me, I spoke about the concerns, and she said she had heard about the concerns of the grapevine and has contacted her to investigate the construction and engineering.
So what did that,
Probably need variance,
was that?
might need a variance, depending on if they behind.
So I will just share with, Marty has a lot more experience than I do, but I've been exploring this with our special counsel, Mark Shatner, in terms of the retaining wall. I went there on site and I walked 360 degrees, and that is something that is in the realm of possibility, depending on the specific situation, that may or may not be something we could address, is what the attorney said. I'm not saying we will. I'm not even saying the board wants to set that precedent, but I'm just saying it's possible. It's what the attorney's saying, the special counsel. Then
I have a question. Excuse me again. What was your name, please?
Greg Klingler, Klingler,
Winger, first name?
Klingler, right.
What's your address, please?
It's 7 Seneca Way. I mean, the property we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 Seneca Way. It's adjacent to the subject property.
Greg Klinger, 7 Seneca Way.
That's the property we're talking about. I live in Greensburg. Oh, Greensburg?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
thank you, though.
I have a question online from Nancy Thiel.
Hi, this is Nancy Teal, and I have a cottage, a lakefront cottage just to the south of the Oxford cottages. And I'm not familiar with the plan, but I'm curious, how many bedrooms does the the proposed septic system support?
6 bedrooms.
New system
Six.
for 6.
And where are those 6 bedrooms?
4 are in the new house. 2 are in the 2 existing cottages. The lower cottage has 2 bedrooms. The upper cottage right now has 1 bedroom that's being removed. That is going to be just a study. I believe it's called study, Kathy.
Professional office use.
Office study. There'll be no living quarters in that building. There'll be 2 bedrooms in the lower cottage and 4 in the new house. So the new system is built for 6 bedrooms.
And how does the town of Hague define a bedroom?
Kathy?
There is no exact definition of a bedroom. I use New York State zoning codes. And it is a room of excess of 70 square feet with a privacy door to a common area of the house and an egress window of 5.7 square feet. The
I'm
cottage,
sorry, Kathy, I can't hear you.
where I use building codes because bedrooms are not defined in the APA nor our codes. But building codes is a room of excess of 70 square feet with a privacy door to a common area of the house, an egress window of 5.7 square feet. The cottage by the lake actually only has 1 bedroom, but it has a loft that is used as a bedroom. So the system has been designed to accommodate the sleeping arrangements in that a loft doesn't have a privacy door. But if we find on septic installations that lofts are being used as bedrooms, we definitely mandate that the sizing of the septic includes that space.
So it doesn't matter, what I'm hearing is that it doesn't matter how many people are in each bedroom.
Well, under our current rental code, 2 people per bedroom plus 2 is allowed if you're renting. On residential use, there's not really an occupancy. Bedrooms, septic systems are designed for the bedrooms of 2 people per bedroom, pretty much on the gallons flow, daily gallon flows. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is 2 people per bedroom plus 2, you said? So that's 4 people?
That's under our rental code. That's not in our zoning code at all. For residential use like your house or my house.
Yeah,
Well, you rent, maybe, I think you do.
Yeah.
Like my house doesn't have maximum capacity because I don't rent it. But if I did,
so the Oxford cottage on the lake, the lower cottage, has 1 bedroom in the loft, so theoretically 4 people could rent that.
under codes, yeah, I guess. It's, or if we're counting the loft as a bedroom. You could say the 6.
6?
If we're counting the bedrooms, the loft is a bedroom, which we are in the.
We did for the new wastewater design, we counted that loft as a bedroom.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm just having trouble hearing. So with the loft as a bedroom, that lower cottage I'm hearing it can rent to 6 people. Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because in our codes, we don't define bedrooms.
Okay, so it's 2 bedrooms in that cottage and 4 in the new house.
Yes, ma'am. The shower is on the log house, the kitchen and the shower are getting removed. They did ask for it to keep the toilet and the sink. Our past attorney's decisions have been based that a professional office, it's reasonable to have a toilet and a sink in an office. So it did go through planning board review, and that's the only reason it went through, this project went through planning board review. Is so they could keep the toilet and the sink in the log cabin.
Okay, but theoretically, no one can sleep in that
No.
cottage anymore.
Approval is no overnight accommodations and the tub.
And
the
there was
kitchen.
a condition of inspection applied to them.
Yes, and with 24 hours notice, the owners, from the town zoning office would be allowed to inspect it, when they, in the years to come.
Which cottage is that? I'm sorry.
It's a log house.
Log
It's
house.
the cottage that's becoming an accessory structure, which is now counted as a principal structure. While I'm here, it wasn't a unique review. Matthew McKee and myself reviewed it. And just to make sure that we were processing the application for the house correctly, it was sent to the APA. Their determination came up the same as we did. There's 2 principal dwellings on this house. It's called legal pre-existing non-conforming, the lot is legal pre-existing non-conforming. So they were assigned 2 dwelling units. When the plumbing and the accommodations of log house is removed and become an accessory structure, they still are allowed to keep those 2 dwelling units. So not only we reviewed it very carefully, the new house meets all the setbacks that are required of the town of Hague. So the only thing that it needed to go to any board for was, and that's actually not written as a safeguard for a harder look. I send any accessory structure that wants to have a toilet and a sink in it to the planning board for a harder look or a more thorough review. So that answers the previous question.
Sure. So,
Yes, one more point if I could. Even if the existing 2 structures were here and the new house was not built, the existing system would not pass muster with the Lake Shore Park Commission inspections. We'd have to propose a new system at some point, and we would select the same location, we'd still need variances here. So, and we need variances here and here. So essentially, it's the same application whether this house is built or not. A little bit smaller system, but essentially the same type of system.
To address Ginger's and Cedarwood's review of all these wastewater variances. Their recommendations on conditions which the town board has adhered to on these advanced treatment systems that needs maintenance. It's actually states that they have to put it in the deed. The zoning office gets a copy of the maintenance agreement with the current owners. They also have to hire an attorney, redo their deed to include that any prospective buyer of the property will agree to that maintenance of that advanced treatment because they're annual. The annual inspections are to be submitted to us. And these are all conditions of all the variances on these advanced treatment systems that this town board has approved. So there is forethought of prospective buyers and mandating because a lot of these systems do. This Elgin system actually does not need a maintenance. It's a good system.
Very passive.
Let's, can we move back to the public hearing? No, and I appreciate it very much. I hope you don't receive that the wrong way. Would anyone else like to speak for or against?
One other question I have that on something Kathy said, so
Could you just, you've had some time, could we continue with the public hearing?
Yes.
We'll come back if you wish. But we
yes,
have
no
to
problem.
afford some other people some time. Okay, go ahead, but if you could
Can I ask about moving?
try to be brief.
You know, what's your question?
We'd love. She knew stuff. Probably stepped away. We'll move on, we can come back. She's giving, she's a little more time.
Well, yeah, we will give her another time. We can't get her back right now, Tim.
Contact Clement also 770 way this out. Could we ask you to come up front so they can hear you online as well? SBR, say how I can deal with it. Greg Crowe.
So I want clarification on the debatable business. How many people, occupants, human beings is this system designed for? Not bedrooms. How many human beings is this?
Under Department of Health Code and Hague Code, it's 12 people, 6 bedrooms, 2 per bedroom. Kathy's clarifying that rentals can allow additional people per bedroom, and I'm not privy to that code per se. I can't speak to it exactly. 12 people is what it's designed for, health department standard.
Okay, so I have a big water quality issue with this. We drink the water, we drink like water. We're 50 feet within her. She rents. And,
Can you adjust your questions to this mic?
Yeah,
So that,
they can hear you on mine.
okay.
a little louder, and it'll pick up, have your voice.
I said I have a water quality issue in that we drink from Lake George. We're 50-foot shoreline distance within 50 feet of this property. She rents to a lot of people. A car pulls out, another car pulls back in, round the clock. I mean, and my problem is Overbank, the one structure there, C6. The new structure, and that's in the 600 square foot footprint. You have a 900 square foot footprint on one level. You have a 1,300 square foot on the second level. You have a 1,305 on the third level. All of those are accessed by an outside separate entranceway off of the common stairway. So those could be 3 separate apartments, a multi-dwelling unit.
No.
And my concern is that these could be rented, probably will be rented. And I'm afraid that that system is not gonna clarify the water. For me to be unaware of my probability in the water. So that's my concern.
Thank you.
One of the rooms in the new house that I consider a bedroom is the intended use as our art studio. As it is, here's Billy Coach's bedroom, I count it as a bedroom. There's only one kitchen in the new construction.
We're treated with 2 white bars. Each floor is a white bar, each floor
We
is
don't have
separate.
white bars. Every house on the living, every floor has a white bar. It's very common in this area,
I'm not saying it isn't, I'm not.
but it's not a full kitchen.
Do you see my concern? Does anybody see my concern or is it me?
I see your concern.
I could see if she rents out. The 600 square foot unit, I'm not saying, I'm not looking to bash anybody here. I'm worried about water. I think we all should be. I think Lake George is a water quality issue, is it not?
Yes.
Don't we have a water keeper? Don't we have the EPA, Lake George Park Commission? I drink that water, I've drank that water my entire life. I want to continue to drink that water. I want to feel safe when drinking it. She rents this one unit, 600 square feet, 6 people. What can she rent? What can she advertise? 900 square foot for, 1,300 square foot for. And possibly she could be on vacation and that's the third. The possibility is there. I'm not saying she's gonna do that. I'm just saying the possibility is there. So you could theoretically 6 people down below, 6 people per floor, 6, 12, 18, 20, 24 people.
And Mr.
What would happen to this system if 24 people were to use out?
We also have another question online from Captain Sullivan, nearby neighbor concern.
Thank you.
No, apparently not, or it meets the criteria, EPA. Right.
Callie?
Hi, good evening. Hi, my name is Callie Sullivan and I'm a neighbor. I live 60 feet to the south at 8124 Lakeshore Drive. And actually my major concern is something that I haven't really heard this evening, and that is about the parking being so adjacent to the tanks and to the leaching fields, et cetera, and the number of cars that when you have 3 separate living areas, et cetera, you're going to have come, and what kind of topography is going to be allowed to be on top of the driveway. So the driveway has become much more important because it's on a much smaller piece of land, and the septic is much more, if I want to think of a word, maybe fragile. It is, I know I know they're going to sink it, and I know they're going to tell you that it's fabulous, but if you've got big trucks, lots of cars, lots of activity, lots of rain, lots of everything that we have, you are increasing usage in a very small place. And I'm very wary and scared of the outflow or the jiggering of everything in that incredibly tight space. And I'm not sure that the calculations which are being done today are going to keep up with the anticipated rainfall that we are going to have over the next several years. Because I've been going to Lake George for 25 years. My late husband grew up there. It's my children's happy place. And I appreciate everyone's really hard work to make things happen and to get things going smoothly. I'm just really afraid that this is an overuse of a precarious piece of property whose land has been dug up, pushed back, moved around, and is incredibly dense. And I'm just not feeling, and I don't believe that given the use that Tim was just talking about, given the use that Nancy's talking about, given the use that we have seen, that with the increased density, there's so much that can go wrong. And it's just, I'm very much against this specific application. And I wanted to register my worries. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against this public hearing or at this public hearing? Please.
I am sibling, this is regard to the White House. But I would just like to respectfully request onset evaluation of both issues, whether it be the septic or the stormwater runoff. With
I'm sorry, I can't hear a thing.
Maybe just right here, if you would. I'm sorry.
Respectfully request the board do an on-site inspection of both the septic and the stormwater issue with us present. If that can be on-site in-person inspection after the snow melts, so that everybody gets a good idea.
She's just requesting the town board to do an on-site inspection with one of the homeowners present. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Jason Cunningham online. That's concerns. So you'd like to ask a big question?
Sure.
Jason?
Hello, how's it going? I'm the applicant, I guess is how mom's being referred to. I'm the applicant's son, and I just wanted to make one note that I think everyone's raising a lot of valid concerns, and I appreciate that. I'm sure you'll consider all perspectives, but my perspective is that I've grown up going to the lake. I'm the 5th generation to grow up on the lake, and I love it. But I don't think it's unreasonable to grow. Our family is growing. My brother and sister and I are all married and hope to have kids in the not too distant future. And to squeeze into a 1-room cabin or 2-room cabin or 1-bedroom cabin with a loft, however you want to define it, it gets a little cozy. So I don't think it's mom's desire to have some more elbow room like the Siskas have, or the Sullivans have, and the Klinglers have right next door is unreasonable. I think that's pretty reasonable. And it's something that a lot of people around the lake are doing, and I don't think this desire is different. So thank you for your time.
Jason Cunningham.
Would anyone else here like to speak for or against? You know, my only thought, are you coming back next time, Mr. Jarrett, next month? And I guess we'll go through this, but is it possible, Mr. Jarrett, to increase the septic system leach field to be more, I know it doesn't require that via Hague law to be more than 6 bedrooms?
Can we upsize the system is what you're asking?
Yes, does the property have that ability to do, in your opinion, as an engineer?
We may have that possibility.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that there's been a lot of concern raised, and I realize that maybe it's not mandatory, but maybe it would help create, you know, good faith on part of everybody here tonight, and just create a good relationship with these families that I'm sure have been friends for quite some time.
We will look at that. I think due to some other changes we had to make to the site design, we may be able to do that. We may be able to expand a little bit to the east. I'm gonna look at that. I just want to clarify one thing. The systems that are in place all around the lake, and I'm talking about older systems right now, are classically built below grade. And right now, that's existing grade that we're depicting on this plan. You can see the groundwater level here, which is classic all around the lake. You have shallow groundwater and shallow bedrock. Most all of the existing systems are built below grade, and they don't provide adequate treatment to the concerns about water quality. So almost all the old systems are built improperly. New systems, you will see an awful lot of them, probably 90% of the ones we do are raised above grade. And that is to get more vertical separation, to get proper treatment. It also allows us to divert runoff around these things. So we're addressing the rainfall question as well as the water quality issue. And all these designs take that into consideration. Eric was up before me doing exactly the same thing.
Okay, and how often does testing occur on this particular system? Testing.
Well, it'll be inspected at a minimum every 5 years by the Park Commission. I'll work with Kathy on, I think some of the conditions that the town has imposed did not make it to this project, because this was approved a year and a half ago. And I will work with her office.
No, the conditions that I previously spoke of were for the advanced treatment systems, which the digesters are mechanical.
Yeah, this is the plastic system, it's the same
element
quality.
system does not need the inspection.
Yeah, it does not, but we're setting up in other towns, a walk-through inspection anyway by a service provider for these type of systems.
And the Park Commission will be doing the inspection every 5 years on all the components of every property on the lake.
I have an eligible system for my own property, and I'm gonna have my own service provider inspect it in addition to me.
Nancy Teal would like to respond to that last question.
You have the floor.
Hi, it's Nancy Teal again. Going back to what something Kathy said earlier, she talked about an inspection or a walkthrough given 24 hours notice of the residents. Who exactly would be doing those inspections?
The CEO.
Okay. And my second question or comment this time is, I know that this meeting is specifically focused on septic. Who and when addresses water mitigation issues? Because I have a concern about that too, given how the property was drastically changed, the geography was drastically changed.
Did you want to take that question, Kathy, or Tom, would you take that?
That has been designed by our office, the stormwater management for the system, and it was reviewed by the Park Commission. That's being implemented now. Most will be implemented after construction, but some is being implemented as it's being constructed. And that was all approved by the Lake George Park Commission.
Does that
So
answer?
is there a plan, a stormwater mitigation
Yes.
plan
Yes, there
that I
is.
can read somewhere?
Yep, there are. In Kathy's office, you can examine plans.
Okay. Did anyone
And will
else
there-
like?
Will
Go
there be
ahead.
an opportunity for comments on that plan before actually something is more changes are made to the property?
The stormwater plan we have no authority to approve that stormwater plan. That's in the Lake George Park Commission, although we do have a copy of it if you'd like.
It's all been approved. It's being implemented now.
Wow. And neighbors are not informed of what those changes might be or might not be, right?
Well, there are no variances needed for that, so it only went through the permit process, the normal permit process that everyone around the lake has to comply with.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's time and effort on this.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Okay, so we, as previously discussed, we're going to be leaving this public hearing open, and we're going to move on. I am going to set 3 public hearings. First public hearing, all 3 of these public hearings will take place February 13th, 2024, 6:15 p.m. The first of which, Thomas, I'm going to butcher this last name, but Sumiak at 5 Grayford Way, tax map number 12.18-1-29.2. The next is David Lance Clark at 9657 Lakeshore Drive, tax map number 12.14-1-18.1. And the next is going to be Mike and Beth Reagan at 7929 and 7931 Lake Shore Drive, tax map numbers 93.12-1-24.1 and 93.12-1-24.2. Those 3 are going to be held February 13th, 2024, 6:15 p.m. Again, at this point in time, we are going to be offering our guests privilege of the floor. I ask that anyone speaking try to keep it to 3 minutes or less. Please. Would anyone like to speak privilege of the floor? Mr. DeFranco.
Try to get the 3 minutes and might be out of line. I just wanted to tell you that I'm looking at people here, and especially Martin, a couple of people here that I had as a student in this building before it was torn down 50 years ago. And then I'm looking at my dad's fish up there and I'm thinking, wow, this is scary. And I want to just make a quick comment about, I feel like when you go to confession, you're supposed to say, bless me, Father, for I've sinned. I haven't been to a lot of public meetings here, and I am very impressed with this meeting compared to the meetings that I have attended in the past. It's just much more organized and much more polite. What I just wanted to say is I'm a little out of line here because I'm David DeFranco. I'm not the engineer, Tony. But I just want to point out that I've been involved in land management, landscaping for 35 years. Tony is now the owner of that business. And something that we keep hearing, the lake, the lake, the lake. This summer, a major client, great job, asked us to do something to put fertilizer and weed feed 50 feet within the lake. We told them no. They said, well, we'll get somebody else. You're all done. I thought that was very good. But that's how we stand for the lake. There was another one where people come in and they say, we're putting a septic system right here. And that's where it's going. We're doing this and we're doing that. But you know what? Can't help you if you don't follow the rules. Just like Mr. Chair knows, you got to follow the rules. Don't work for them. So that's just my thing. I'm involved because Mr. Simonak is my neighbor. And I think sometimes when I hear these comments, sometimes if the stuff is brought ahead a little bit, somebody can resolve it and we don't have to have all these issues going on and on and on. So as a neighbor, I looked at the application and the application says 4 bedrooms. According to the failure by the Lake George Park Commission, they count 4 bedrooms plus the tub. Is that correct? If they have a
Or
generator,
a septic tank size of it,
but not for the field.
not generally for the field, no.
Okay, but
A jet tub.
a generator. Okay, so anyway, they put down 5 bedrooms, because 4 plus 1. My concern is, I'm the adjoining property owner. In that application, every variance
8 of them, says this will have no detrimental effect on the neighbor. That was not done by the engineers, it was done by the home, because they have to fill it out. Well, I have a 50-foot lot, and you want to put a septic system on my line. Okay, it's only the total slope, but still, it's the septic system. I object to that. I want to help the neighbor, but I should not have to help the neighbor to take his problem that creates my problem. So I'm going to put a little house, cottage, cabin, we're going to call it. And I keep hearing these comments all the time, and everybody's trying to figure out how to put a house on a postage stamp. And I think it's very important that we work with the engineer and the owner. We try to do the best we can. And I'm just going to give the board some stuff that might be helpful so that they could resolve some of these issues before we have to go through this process and carry it on and on. So, and again, I'd like to thank Mr. Jarrett. I've heard a lot about you, and I really appreciate.
You and I worked together a long.
Yes, I tell you, I'm trying to think, my gosh, it's so long ago. At 75 years old, I can't even remember my name. So, but I'll give, since there's only 4 members of the board here today, I'll take, oh, I'm sorry. Can I just give one copy? I didn't bring an extra copy for, Mr. Jarrett. And I just thought Mr. Jarrett could have a copy. It might make it easier. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to extrapolate one of your concerns, because it came back, Bob Holmes is actually the designer of this project. I was here, I'm saying it in Chris Orr, but I know you have concerns about drainage off this system along your property line. Bob has already agreed to address that. He's not gonna talk to Tony, because you didn't involve Tony with this, I don't think.
I didn't involve Tony because Tony doesn't need to be involved.
Okay,
This is me.
But Bob will talk to you directly about that drainage, and we'll resolve that. That probably reroute the drainage to the north.
I guess that's not enough, because to me, this system can be moved 10 feet, so it's not on my line, and it can be turned and orientated this way. Yes, it's going to approach the line, but it's an approach anyway.
Well, you may be right, and I'm not gonna speak for Bob. I'm not sure if Bob's on the line or not, but we do have a variance to the well, and so we have to be sensitive to moving it to the north.
That's okay. I just want to throw this out too. I have a lot. If I'm gonna build, if they go 10 feet back, it helps me. I could have a well.
Okay.
If they don't, it doesn't help. But again, I just think nobody knows what this plant looked like before. When this house was built, there was a sketch with 2 circles, seepage pits.
Yeah.
When I make the engineering that goes in here, and that Elgin system, which I've been studying, is a phenomenal system. I mean, I wish I invented it.
Yeah, I do too.
Because that primary, secondary, and as your point, tertiary, local soils, it's a great system.
Much better than we're doing around, and Saturday around, but we'll help you resolve that. We will revisit.
And we're happy that the Electric Park Commission is doing all those inspections, because when we work on these sites, we see the issues. Nobody wants to fix it unless someone makes you fix it. Thank you.
We will stipulate that we will work out this issue with Mr. Lincoln. And, this also has to go to the town engineers, I understand it, for review.
I was under the impression you were gonna give us a presentation on these 3 or next month.
I can do it either way you want, we can defray those restrictions.
No, what's that?
We give you an overview in the first meeting.
You can give us an overview, sure.
So I think between your description and Mr. Franco's description, this is a 4-bedroom house, and the existing system is 2 leach pits here. We believe are situated right in groundwater. So they're certainly not compliant, not providing any treatment at all, but it's seen in the same southwest corner of the property where the new system is proposed as a raised system, Elgin, enhanced treatment unit. As far from the well as we can get it, Mr. Franco feels it should be moved a little bit to the north, he will examine that. But essentially, this is the spot on the property where we can support at least water management, and it will be an enhanced unit, and it'll be a considerable upgrade from what's there now.
Thank you.
Real quick overview.
We appreciate that. Were you giving an overview on any, are you representing David Lance?
Fill in here, I'll try. Next one is Parker. A little bit farther north, it's north of Indian Kettles. And it is, I believe, a 2-bedroom system. I got my notes right. It's on the west side of 9N. Again, we have a well setback, well is to the north here. And we're tucking the system in the southwest corner of the property. It's an Elgin system again, it's also raised. And so we're enhancing the treatments considerably over what is there.
Can I just ask a question, because I got confused there for a minute? With Mr. DeFranco, is it with, Cunningham or one of the new?
Seminary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, there's some fast and furious.
is that all you had for David Lance Clark
I'd like
applicant?
to ask a specific question, I'd like to move on to.
Does any of the board at this point in time have specific questions for David Lance Clark?
Let's wait till we get the details from our engineer.
Probably haven't been to the site yet.
No.
No.
This one, both Seminole and Park failed away from.
Okay, would you please proceed with Mike and Beth Reagan?
Right, this is at the south end of town. Right across the street from you. Right across the door, actually. And this had 2 residences on the property. There's a house back here and then a small cottage toward the front. This is 9N. The lake is across the road. This is on the west side of 9N. This is Babylon Brook right here. Actually, down further. This is the driveway. So we're proposing a combined system as far from the brook as possible. It's up in the northeast corner of the property, again raised, again an Elgin system. And both houses would be served by that system. The water supply is way back behind the house. So we're compliant with regard to that, and we're not compliant. Property line. Property line. I think we're okay with, we're not compliant with property line.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. See you next one.
Thank you. Did we have anyone else that'd like to speak at privilege of the floor? Okay. We will proceed. I would like I asked if anyone else wanted to speak at privilege of the floor. Proceed.
I did some research when these, Scion bacteria, I don't know that pronunciation, but that was the hat that was found on the Oneida Island. And I got interested in it and did a little research, and, the hat stands for harmful algae bloom. And the worst one that you can have in cyanobacteria blooms. Now there's a little debate going on as to how lethal it is, but this bacteria is over it's probably the oldest bacteria. It's 3.2 million, a billion years old. It's just phenomenal to think of its survival. And it's also called the blue-green algae, which is quite dangerous. Now, the thing that you just last is both discussions were very interesting because this cyanobacteria has quite a history and some very it has a dangerous potential. It can harm, kill your pets, even if it's a dog licking a fur, or a dog licking a little scum on a rock. It can kill the dog, it can kill any animal, even can kill men, women, and children. Because the, people who have conditions like respiratory conditions can become very sick. And I started writing down the sicknesses that are more than, they can damage the human kidney, liver, and the reproduction system, and also the lungs. So, this is a serious bacteria with a huge history. I have 3 minutes to talk about it, but what I just wanted to do to warn people also about the wells, because they can become contaminated by the cyanobacteria, toxic cyanobacteria. And also, if somebody lives on the lake and has complaints, they can become very ill because they've been drinking the water that ended up near the world around here where their water comes. There's particularly now we're starting to be more research because there's so much of this, and there's a lot of thoughts about alternate systems and the systems and the discoveries. Now, I think we're really lucky, very lucky, as I said last month about the Jefferson project that's going on is wonderful research, and it's using the world's smartest computer platform from IBM. So in regard to that situation, both situations and the systems they connect. I just want to remind you that last night the retired DEC people were talking, and they said that even when wealthy get the bills for some of these very complicated systems, they don't want to pay their energy bill. They can't believe it, and therefore they shut off one of the cleansing chambers. So a lot of them have 3 chambers. So then the process is not complete, and it does, and the impure sewage ends up impacting the lake. Now, so from these, so I thought, well, you know, what systems exactly are affected or can cause and extend these problems? So things included are from municipal and individual and municipal discharges. It's from stormwater running. It's wastewater treatment plants can emit these bacteria. Concentrated feeding well farmlands. But municipal separate stormwater systems. Stormwater associated with industrial and other non-flowing systems, which may include diffuse runoff from agricultural fields, roads, or stormwater runoff. Maybe high in nitrogen and phosphorus and can promote or cause excessive fertilization or the eutrophication of both flowing and non-flowing waters, which in other words, Lake George was so clean. I'm 78. I've been swimming in the water since I was 3.5 years old. And when I grew up and had a sailboat, I would get thirsty and just put my head on the surface water.
Mary Lou.
And it would be luscious. Okay.
Can you just,
But this, what I'm saying is the potential of these problems coming from sewer development and faulty systems and greedy people, and I mean, that's normal. I mean, probability is important to our life, but there are initial problems. When we have a treasure like this, we ought to really pay close attention to our enjoyment of the lake. And you can't, there's a lot of variable other protections and protect your drinking water and hold the balance. So, excuse me for going back to this.
I don't think anyone would disagree with you here. You said it very nicely. Thank you, Mary Lou.
Josh, real quick, before anybody else speaks, Tony Dawes, is there for you to please refer to your name and your address and where you live?
Mary,
Thank you.
D-O-U-L-I-N. Hey, New York.
Not certain she has to do that, but we'll allow it. Okay. Get to the bottom of it, but, would anyone else like to speak with privilege of the floor? Okay. I would like to entertain a motion to pay the general highway and sewer claims in the amount of $24,717.75. Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Would anyone like to second that motion? All those in favor? Okay. Would also like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes as printed, subject to corrections for 12/12/23, 12/28/23, 1/3/2024. Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Anyone second it? Steve? All those in favor? Aye. Regular committee reports, administration, that's me. The town of Hague is, in a, transitioning period. We are, temporarily, training somebody, to do, our clerk position, answering the phones, and, she's doing a wonderful job up to this point. We, that's more personnel. I'm not gonna get into that, but everything's going very smoothly at the community center, and we got a staff that's working very hard here. Buildings and grounds, community center and enhancement. That would be Maureen, but she's not here, so I am the second to that. The only thing that I know of off the top of my head that we need, we're in need of a little bit of painting in on the front facing the parking, outside parking lot, and also maybe a little bit of interior painting on our sheetrock in the hallways. I'm sure there's some other things, but those are only two I'm gonna bring up tonight. Highway, Marty.
Chad's here.
Okay, Chad.
I don't have much to say right now. I'm only 2 weeks in. But the guys are working hard. They're working good with me, doing a nice job. Picking up with these storms that keep rolling in right now. So it's a great start for me. But otherwise, everything's going good. So,
Thank you, Chad. Museum and historian, Steve.
Well, the historical society meeting was called off just like the other meeting was due to weather, so we'll catch up with it next month.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
I'd like to say, Chad, I drove north early this morning, and you could tell as soon as you crossed our line to Tycon Road line, quite a difference. Good job.
Very good. Personnel, Jack.
As you mentioned, we are planning to hire a receptionist and clerk. Thank goodness Desiree is here filling in for now. We're defining that position, trying to understand what Bertha did for 42 years. And it's a lot. So we will be posting that position shortly and moving forward to hire that with due process. The planning board applications will close on Friday, that's tomorrow, for the open planning board position, and we will be conducting interviews for that next week. We have a open position in the highway department for a machinery equipment operator. That position is being posted too, and we are receiving applications for that. We need to hire a new ZEO. We are in the process right now of defining that in terms of the civil service requirements required by Warren County. And that position will be posted probably as early as next week, so we can fill that. And in the meantime, we are very, very grateful to Kathy for continuing to serve and fulfill the responsibilities of that office. And finally, I did want to mention that we did have a school advisory committee meeting today, and we are going to be placing 2 of our committee members on the membership roles as associate members of the Rural School Association of New York. We are the first associate members to be accepted by that organization. We are going to be working very closely with them to address the improvement of our education and our tax system with them. That's all for now.
Okay, thank you. Planning, zoning, and stormwater. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Kathy, for that?
The busiest part of the office today is the permitting that is on communication system, develop failed systems in the third part of it. So get used to variances. There's many people have addressed the issues and are working with engineering firms to try to come up with a solution. That's big part of it.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. I will just add to this for thought on in terms of the town board, in terms of all these variances for these I'll call them specialized septic systems that require engineered stamped plans. Is currently what happens is there's a fee involved and they pay that fee, and we and that basically in my mind kind of covers the work that goes into it in terms of the office staff and the CEO and the town clerk. But right now the town of Hague is footing the bill for Cedarwood Engineering to review all of these plans. For instance, there's 5 on the docket here tonight. And I was running that by Steve earlier, and I guess, and I'm going to bring up Steve's point, which makes some sense to me. That's why I'm going to mention it, is that my thought is that, you know, that's your system on your property, and the town of Hague shouldn't be footing the bill for Cedarwood. You know, I mean, I don't know what the average, I would like to figure out an average charge that Cedarwood charges per system it reviews. And meaning, let's just say it's $400. So there should be an additional $400 charge for anyone applying for an engineered stamped plan for a septic system. That's my personal feeling. And that money should remain in an account for a use that would benefit the entire community. However, Steve brought to my attention today an alternate viewpoint, and his thought was that if that engineered stamped plan, or if our engineers are reviewing it and by virtue of that review is helping the lake, then it is helping the entire community. So there's 2 thoughts to that, and I'm not really asking for any type of action tonight, but just something for the community and the town board to think about, and something food for thought. Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
We did add to the instruction page of wastewater variances, a line in 2022 that said that the professional services, the applicant could be charged with professional services. I always give the supervisor the total fee of the wastewater variance, of each variance that they apply for is $70, and their wastewater application is $50. So you can evaluate Cedarwood's charge over the money we took in. I think one of them was $560, that is for $30 of the ones that tonight. So then when you get to Cedarwood bill, you can assess, are we losing money? And then you can decide what to charge the applicant.
Sure.
So that's always available to you.
Well, thank you. So what I'm just proposing is maybe we should just make that a standard thing before you get your application. because it always goes to Cedarwood. It should just be $500 added on to every bill.
Well, like professional services, and I forget what chapter it is, it has to be the actual cost that's charged to the county.
Fair enough. Thank you. Okay. Recreation and promotion in youth. Marty.
I think our last meeting, we talked about whether the Silver Bay money was in there for the children.
Mhm.
You know, is it in the budget or is it?
Right. And
Did you ever look to see where it could have been at or not at, or?
I thought that what we discussed is I have a meeting coming up with Silver Bay YMCA, and I think it's about a week and a half from now, and it's gonna be with the CEO and Mr. Lender, and that's when I'm gonna get to the bottom of that.
Okay, I mean, because in the past, we always had a line item, but money in the budget or for those kids, so.
Well, to answer your question, then I do not have a definitive answer on that, but I will get to the bottom of that. Okay, sewer district 1 and 2, Jack.
We've already had a problem with our sewer truck. This year, another, in the first 2 weeks, a transmission problem. That vehicle has been a constant source of problems, and we're trying to figure out how to to get a usable vehicle up there, because it's absolutely necessary, and we're working on that. Today, the sewer advisory committee met. We meet quarterly on that. We had a very productive meeting today. And one of the issues that we're working with is trying to get a permanent emergency generator at our pump station at Cape Cod Village Club. That would be very beneficial to the residents there, and we're working with them to obtain a emergency generator at a very substantial reduction in price and make that all happen. So we're working to get that in place early this year.
Thank you. Town park and beautification, Steve.
Well, the streetlights, I went and adjusted the time on it, and it didn't click back on, so Todd's working with a gentleman, hopefully we can get those lights to come back on the timer. When I set the timer, I went by the next day and they were off, so there's a problem somewhere, so he's working with an electrician on that, hopefully we can get that done soon so they can go back on.
Okay. Is that all, Steve, for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Environmental concerns, Steve.
There's a few environmental concerns and signage and things like that. And we're working with, I'll be talking with DEC Commissioner Badger Scruggs tomorrow, and we're gonna see if we can work on some items that are late issues and some local issues with them.
Okay. Technology and Communications Committee, that's me. So it is one of my goals in the very near future. I'm just trying to get my feet on the ground here at the community center currently. One of the transitioning people I was speaking about is myself, learning the job of town supervisor. Is I want to get a town-wide email list set up for the community so that we can communicate directly with people. In the past, we did look into this and it just never happened, and I can probably take the blame on that. But we're gonna just figure out which program is the best. I know Ticonderoga uses a program that seemed fairly expensive, and there are some less expensive programs that we might be able to use. Forget whether it was Monkey Chimp or it's something weird, funky. Thank you. So we want to get that set up so that, you know, right now, the only way the community center can touch base with the community is with Facebook and the Town of Hague website. Those are the only two ways. So that is a goal. And then people's response, it will be the community individuals' responsibility to sign up to get those emails.
Josh, on that point, I don't mean to interrupt the meeting, but since there's so many people on Zoom and people in the audience as the town clerk, I'd like to notify everybody, I'm sorry, Josh, I'd like to notify everybody that recently I realized that our e-check payments on our town website was not working properly and it's now fixed. So anybody that has paid their property taxes via e-check on our town website, to please contact me, so we can get that clarified. There's been no breach of anything. It was just the e-check payment process was never turned on by our credit card company. Just so everybody knows.
Thank you, Kim. That's a good point of order. Unfinished business. Permission to enter into a fuel oil contract with Main Care at the price of $2.88 per gallon. This price is piggybacked off of another municipality. Like to entertain a motion to approve that purchasing price of $2.88 per gallon for fuel oil, and that's only in the capacity of the Highway Department. Would anyone like to make that motion?
So how long is that contract for? Calendar years?
Yeah, I believe it's for 1 year.
1 year. We actually haven't gotten the contract yet. We wanted to get permission to call them to get a contract.
They were in the middle of honoring, I know we didn't deal, but due to unfortunate circumstances, it's in the middle of honoring the contract, but it got set back because of control. And then we had probably didn't get any fuel, so Josh took the liberty to source out 3 other fuel companies by following the procurement policy to see which one was cheaper to make sure that we can stay within the budget.
Yeah, we had to fill up and we got a price of, I think it was $2.99 a gallon from Avery Energy with no delivery fee the very next day. So that worked out well, I think. So would anyone else like to would anyone like to make the motion to approve us getting into a contract for a period of 1 year?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Okay. Just as another point of order, the town is still searching for a volunteer to organize the Memorial Day Parade. Time is of the essence. Please contact me if you have any interest at all, even if you're willing to be just a team member. Where any help we can get, we're willing to do. Maureen Cherubini did an excellent job for a multitude of years and is trying to pass the baton, and we're looking for a strong runner. Okay. STR, short-term rentals. We have just posted we had a couple of things that we had to make small changes to on the website. More just consistency in terms of the STR document. The STR document is available on the Town of Hague website for review. But just to make it very clear, we're going to be asking the town board to just review the document, and then we're going to get together and figure out if we want to make additional changes or not. That's the point that we're at. So I placed a current copy of the short-term rental ordinance in all town board members' folders. And there were some changes made as a result of the last public hearing, and at the advice of town council, we will be having an additional public hearing. But before we do that, the town board is going to be reviewing it and just figure out what's in the best interest of the community. Communications and petitions, we have nothing. New business. Please schedule the town board, if you would just please schedule your appointments to audit the books of the clerk, judge, zoning, and the town clerk by January 20th, 2024. And we're also looking for Steve actually brought it to my attention. There is some grant money potentially available in the form of a deadline of January 31st. And Steve emailed me the grant, and we are looking for a resolution to authorize for an application for the grant funding in the amount of $84,000 for the Hague Knotweed Management Program. The writing of that application grant is going to be $300 done by Tracy, can't really pronounce her name, Clothier. I think that's close. So would anyone like to make the motion to authorize us to have Tracy do the $300 application work?
So moved.
Could we get a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, carried. I guess that's kind of all in one, but yeah, we did, that was a 2-in-1 operation. So, did you want to say something, Kim?
Well, wasn't there
Yeah, we can do it. I thought I did both in one, but would anyone like to make a motion that we contract Tracy Clothier to apply for the grant for the sum of $300?
This is.
Right, that's a separate one. The 500 one is going to be separate.
Yeah, we did the first one. from-
Okay, is that what you were?
That's
Okay,
right.
I thought you were asking me to do this. There's two separate resolutions actually in part of this. Okay. So when Steve sent me that email, I further started reading the grant deadline and what potentially could be part of that. And Diane and I were just reading through it, and that we came to the conclusion that this DEC grant money, we could potentially fund our comprehensive plan or update our comprehensive plan as a result of this January 31st deadline. And we called Tracy, and essentially for the sum of $500, she would be willing to write that grant. She gave us two possible options, and I think each town board member has both of these options. The first of which is, boy, I'm out of water, I guess. Okay. The first of which is we could apply for a grant for $25,000, and it would be a $5,000 match. And that would give us a higher likelihood of receiving the grant from the DEC to update our comprehensive plan if we did the $25,000 with a $5,000 match from the town of Hague. Or we could apply for the grant in a different way and just apply for $30,000 to update the comprehensive plan with a $0 match from the town of Hague. And we would have a less likelihood of getting that approved, but still in the realm of possibility. So
What's the point value difference between updating our comprehensive plan and using our current, I think it was 6 years ago? I know you're supposed to update your comprehensive plan every 5 to get the highest point value on grants. But there is some degree, because we do have one and it hasn't been 10 years. So is it a difference of 5 points towards the grant, awarding the grant, or is it 4, or is it 3?
she didn't mention the,
We did, it took 3 years to do
it wasn't done since I've been on the board, the updated comprehensive plan.
it's probably about 6 years.
Been a while.
But it's less than 10.
So, I mean, I'm just we kind of did this afternoon.
A comprehensive plan has been updated within 5 years. Like 5 points for getting the most out of the grant. If it's within 10 years, they'll give you like 3 points, but what is that point value if you ask her?
We didn't get into that. I mean, Diane just had mentioned to me, it's been a very long time. I didn't know if it was 6 years. But, I mean, we got on the phone with her and she made it very clear that she thought that this would get us would make us eligible for more grant projects for the town of Hague if we wanted to move forward on something like this. I mean, at a minimum, I think it would be wise if the town of Hague doesn't want to commit to the $5,000 match. I mean, we could commit to spending the $500 and applying for a $30,000 grant with no additional monies. I mean, I think that would be wise money spent. I mean, I realize this is on the fly. I mean, Steve sent me the email last night. At the end of the day, we're reading this and we're like, oh my golly, there's a January 31st deadline and we could qualify for $30,000 that could help the residents of the town. I mean, I agree, it could have been better planned, but here we are, and I'm just presenting it to the board as a option.
Ginger Quesnell has a question of it.
Please.
Oh, so I just wanted to weigh in on the comprehensive plan. I'm very excited to hear that this is a possibility. And Tracy Clothier actually worked on it for the town the last time too, so she would have a lot of knowledge. We don't have to start from scratch. But, and Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure that comprehensive plan update ever really got approved. I know we worked on it. We had a lot of meetings with community members, which was great to see the community participation. But like I say, I'm also sure Tracy will know the history.
Yeah, I do have a comprehensive plan.
Yes, and it did get approved, Ginger.
Okay, thank you.
Just in case I'm wrong.
Did anyone like from the board like to weigh in on if they wanted to proceed with the idea of what I just outlined?
If you guys are personally, if you're gonna put the $5,000 into it, you got a extremely better chance than not adding any money into it.
I agree with that.
So if you really are interested in updating your plan, then I would do the 25 with the 5 from me.
I agree with that.
Do you think that'd be a good idea to update it,
Yeah,
Steve?
because if not, if you go the other way, your odds are you're not gonna be funded.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this in two parts then. Could I enter into a would anyone like from the board like to make a motion that we enter into a contract with Tracy Clothier to apply for the grant for $500 contract for her to do that?
You're gonna do the,
Well, I'm gonna do that one next.
okay, yeah.
So we're committing to the $500.
Okay,
Make that motion.
sure will, thank you. Second.
All those in favor? And then the second one is. Let's see here. Let it be resolved to authorize the application for grant funding in the amount of $25,000 with the town adding an additional $5,000 for the Town of Hague Comprehensive Plan through the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Adirondack Park and Catskill Park Community Smart Growth Grant Program Round 7. Would anyone like to make that motion? Anyone like to second it?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Carried. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for coming here tonight. Appreciate you taking an interest in
If there's any questions on it.
Oh, yeah, yes. No. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming, everyone tonight. We are going to be going into exec. Did you have something, Linda?
But I'd like to go on record, there's a lot of people in this town who could get that stroke. I was in constant, communication with her family, you know, she was nice to do, I've been taking her to doctor's appointments, and I went to the all the doctors are really within the short hour, and she's not.
Oh.
And I.
My apologies, yeah.
No, I know,
Like I said.
I hear that from a lot of people, and
Yeah.
it's distressing for her, and it's distressing for those of us that know her.
Yeah.
She's fine.
Oh, I know she's fine.
But
Work with her.
yeah.
But just due to the unfortunate circumstances, that's all.
I know.
I don't know what to call it. I just felt bad. I felt bad that it happened. Remember, what working on school.
Hey, so thank you, everybody. We're gonna be going into executive session tonight. Would anyone from oh, Pat?
Just like to say, go up this meeting. Thank you. a microphone system so handicapped hearing people can hear everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So would anyone from the board, would like entertain a motion to go into executive session for attorney-client privilege on a personnel matter? Second, please. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.